Now, and the recent impact of climate change on cocoa production has been attributed to poor farm practices by some farmers. The sustainable sourcing arm of the Hershey International Cocoa firm is therefore urging farmers to consider alternative sources of livelihood while adopting favorable practices for sustained cultivation. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin has more.
About 70% of world cocoa beans come from Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. Climate change is predicted to cause both long dry spells and erratic weather events for the yields of the tree crop. Sustainable sourcing representative of Hershey International Cocoa, Albert Monte, says cocoa farmers should begin to look for alternative means of livelihood.
We are giving farmers seed trees to plant on their farms so that they can protect their cocoa trees and also protect the land on which they plant the cocoa. We are giving seedlings to the farmers to plant, and these are seedlings that we have nursed. We have taken pods from Ghana Cocoa Board, and we know that these are strong seedlings that when farmers plant on their farms, it will help them. We are also encouraging farmers to adopt additional livelihoods apart from the cocoa they plant. So we are training farmers on how to grow vegetables, how to plant orange flesh potato, how to produce small animals like grass cutter and the rest, and mushroom and the rest. We think that if farmers have additional livelihoods, it will support them. They will be able to live very good lives and they won't depend on others.
Acting Managing Director of Quality Control of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Nanaka Kariado, also pleads with farmers to abide by the board standards.
We don't want the quality of cocoa beans to fall down, no matter what. So what we do is that we educate the farmers to have good agricultural practices and ferment the cocoa very well for 6 days. After the second day, you go and open the fermentary and then mix the beans and then cover with more leaves. The 4th day, you will do the same thing. And the 6th day, you bring the fermented cocoa to the drying mat. And in drying too, we make sure they pick any foreign matter in the beans. They polish the beans very well, and then so that it should be well dried to have long shelf life in storage. For us, as quality assurance, we want to encourage Ghanaian cocoa farmers to ferment the cocoa very well for us to maintain the premium for cocoa that we have earned over the years.
Meanwhile, cocoa buying companies have been urged to consider improving on the living conditions of cocoa farmers to encourage them to do more. Muzamil Mahamadou is the country director for Agrocom Ghana.
We can bridge the gap using our own efforts, and we need to focus on these efforts, and all that is required to make this gap from 3 or 4 bags to 20 bags, we have it amongst ourselves. We have all the tools. The government is aiding us with pollination, the government is aiding us with fertilizers, the government is aiding us now, as the Director of Research is mentioning, farm implements like slashers, weeders, pruners, these are tools that are going to improve the farm. They are even talking about providing some ababoyas and so on to move the goods so there's no spoilage and so on and so forth.
We'll stay a while on this subject matter. The Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, CAG, is disturbed by a publication on Bloomberg website on Monday, June 24. I'll bring you details of that particular publication, but it basically has to do with Bloomberg publishing that Ghana's main cocoa harvest has dropped or has fallen 6% to a 3-year low after a disease destroyed crops. And this disease is the swollen shoot disease, and we'll be bringing you more details on this particular story. But what the Chamber of Agribusiness is asking for is that Cocoa Board and government should take steps to secure the livelihood, social and economic activities of cocoa farmers in the country by setting up the Agriculture Disaster Management Fund. Now, according to Bloomberg, Ghana's main crop cocoa harvest fell 6% to a 3-year low after a disease destroyed the crops. We'll be getting you more details on this swollen shoot disease and how it has affected farmers in the country. But I've been joined here by the executive director, is it, of the CEO of the Chamber of Agribusiness, Mr. Morrison, for more on this. Now, You say that you're disturbed by this particular story and how it affects cocoa farmers. You're calling for a disaster management fund. I'm wondering, doesn't one exist already?
No, not at all.
Not if not on the national scale, in your associations, because all these farmers belong to various associations. Some are with the General Agricultural Workers Union. There's a Cocoa Farmers Union. So why would you now want government to create a disaster management fund because of issues like this?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me in your studios. First of all, let me say a good morning to all good agribusiness stakeholders in the industry. I must say that this call is very timely. Agriculture is a national affair. Failure of agriculture is the failure of our economy. Our economy is based and structured on agriculture and its value chain activities. And for that matter, when we call for strategic disaster management fund purposely for agriculture, it's very timely. In other developed countries, they do have it. And I think that, in fact, they have even gone further to put together some economic contingencies for supporting farmers. And we've seen how subsidies have been given to farmers in Europe and in America.
But you have cocoa fertilizer subsidized here in Ghana. You have initiatives like the Planting for Food and Jobs. So I'm just wondering what you mean exactly when you say you want a disaster management fund.
So, for instance, the swollen shoot disease has come in to eradicate about a quarter of our projections across board, and for 3 years government is now struggling to find innovative ways to solve the problem. What we are saying is that yes, there will be economic livelihood lost to the farmers. There is also some problems with migration that they will encounter. Then farmers will have to resort to using other unorthodox means to make sure that they are able to safeguard their livelihoods, especially applying a lot of chemicals in bid to solve the swollen shoot disease. And we are saying that for farmers not to go through all the hardships, farmers, the government and the Cocoa Board need to come up with some strategic management fund which goes to solve disasters within the agricultural situation. If you quite remember, last year we called on this, the government to do this when we had the Bagri Dam issue. And now every year the Bagri Dam issue comes in, it destroys a huge acreage of land, livelihoods are lost, economic endeavors are lost, and the farmers also lost their lives in that scenario. The Agriculture Management Disaster Fund is not only for diseases, but is strategically set up to mitigate economic hardships, to mitigate loss of productive ventures, and also to manage natural disasters that will befall the industry. Just as if you go to Ministry of Trade, they do have a special fund to support people who are into various trade and other things, you know. So agriculture is very unique, and we need to see it as an endeavor for which the government can do without, for which reason government have put together a lot of flagship programs that are in the agriculture sector: Planting for Food and Jobs, Rearing for Food and Jobs, Planting for Food and Export and Rural Development, and there's so many more: One District, One Factory, One District, One Dam, and many others. So if the agriculture sector is getting the necessary attention and investment, then at the same time, we need to make sure that we put in a lot of mitigating structures to safeguard this investment.
All right. But don't you think a lot of investment has been made already in the agri sector? And I gave examples earlier, the Planting for Food and Jobs. Recently, the president launched the Rearing for Food and Jobs. And like I say, farmers belong to various associations. So why should this be brought to government's doorstep again? Can't the Chamber of Agribusiness set up this fund?
Okay, so if you take the unique situation of cocoa and it's structured on national economy, now the failure of that sector will have rippling effects on the other sectors. For instance, providing of social amenities in most of the cocoa growing areas, extending or doing the roads, okay, hospitals, water, electricity. Most of these are hedged on the cocoa hedge fund. Okay, so if the industry is having challenges, how is government able to make sure that they are able to provide infrastructure, some of these strategic social, how do you call it, structures to these areas? I mean, it's for government to look at it. We are private sector. where we sit in, we can only advise farmers to go for some risk insurance, okay? But the onus lies on government to look at if the loss is affecting farmers, how would the loss be on the government? Because it is the government that goes in for the fund. At the end of the day, if government is not able to recruit more of this produce and pay and export and be able to pay, I mean, it comes back to government. And this government needs to find innovative and strategic measures. And of course, we have always been consistent on the call that the loss alone doesn't not only affect government, but it also affects the economic livelihoods of farmers, their families, and all other engagement they involve themselves in. Now, going forward, there have been this intelligence we have also picked up that Ghana is likely to lose its second position to Indonesia. Okay, now the situation we face now, Ivory Coast is not facing the same situation. So Cocoa Board need to look at how to kind of transfer technology, transfer knowledge to support our farmers.
I'll come back to you. Thankfully, we've gotten Dr. Jumo. He is Deputy in charge of Agronomy and Quality Control at the Cocoa Board. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning, sir.
Thank you, madam.
All right. So the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana is asking you to set up a disaster management fund, and they base this on a Bloomberg report that suggests that we've lost quite a lot in our production, and they are saying that we'll probably miss our 50,000 ton estimate for smaller harvest. And this is because there's an outbreak of a swollen shoot disease. First, what details can you give us with regards to this problem the Bloomberg is raising?
Right, thank you, madam. We're having some challenges regarding production when it comes to Western North, which has been, over the years, has been the main or the chunk where the chunk of cocoa has been got from. As we speak, virtually the entire Western North has been taken over by the disease. And also some parts of Eastern region is also is severely affected by the disease. The disease is a virus disease. And once the plant is infected, what we have to do is to cut the plant and replant, treat the stumps, and then do replanting. We have seen the situation, so we are also making preparation to put certain interventions in place, which we have even started already, so that in other regions like Ashanti, Brahafo, Central region, Volta region, and some part of Western South, we are trying as much as we can so that whatever losses that we are likely to incur in the Western North will be compensated by increasing production in the other regions. So we have put in place some interventions like doing massive pruning, doing mass pollination, hand pollination, and also we are fertilizing the cocoa farms for farmers, all with the hope that we'll be able to sort of increase yield to compensate for the losses that we are likely to.
But do you have anything such as disaster fund management? So you've just painted a picture of how extreme this problem is in some parts of the country, and the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana is just asking you to have a certain fund so that at least for farmers who are affected, they have some way to manage while they deal with the problem.
Yes, we have. And see, while we are doing the treatment, what we are doing is that we have monies allocated to be given to farmers whose farms have been affected by the disease, and even landowners where the farmers collected their farming, have through them they had access to the land. Some monies are also paid to them. But apart from that, we Cocoa Board is taking complete care of the treatment, and also providing free seedlings to the farmer, and also taking care of the maintenance for 2 years. Okay, so that the farmer can really have time to come out from the situation. So we have put these measures in place to make sure that we are able to support the cocoa farmer in the first 2 years. The first year we'll do the maintenance for the farmer. The second year we'll also do the maintenance. But the first year, what we intend to do is that once we have cleared the land, once we have removed the disease trees, Then we supply plantain suckers to the farmer for the farmer to plant. But this planting will be done by, we have outsourced that to service providers. So they will do it for the farmer. The farmer is not going to do it himself or herself. Then also we provide economic shade trees. These are permanent shade trees, also free of charge to the farmer. And then we make sure that we plant it for the farmer in the first year. Then second year, we will supply whatever quantities of seedlings that the farmer will require for his land or her land. Will also be given to the farmer for free. Cocoa Board is taking care of all that. So that then at the end of the second year, the farm is handed over to the farmer for the farmer to continue from there.
All right, Doc, thank you very much for your time this morning. Dr. Emmanuel Jumo is the Deputy in charge of Agronomy and Quality Control at Cocoa Board. Quickly, Mr. Morrison, you've heard him. He's outlined what they've done. Are you satisfied?
No, not at all. That is only for cocoa. And I think that is not enough because, yes, you're safeguarding it. What about the economic loss in itself? Let's also not forget, recently we had the same challenge with the tilapia production. Now the tilapia production, the profit that has been made now is totally, eroded. If you go and ask the aquaculture farmers, those into tilapia, they've lost a lot of their livelihoods, okay? Now, what about the fall armyworms issue? That has befallen us 2 years ago and is still with us. What kind of strategic structures is the government putting in place? So to safeguard those into maize, soya, vegetables, and other areas. Recently, there is a ban on exportation of vegetables. I mean, the industry is bereft with a number of problems. And we need to make sure that in order not to lose all the huge investment into this industry and the successes the government have chalked over the years, let's come in with some strategy and make sure that, yes, we are able to contain the people in there and encourage those who are getting into the industry to come in. Let's not forget that the industry is based on the success story. The economy of Ghana is based on the success story of agriculture. And if agriculture is failing us, we are failing our people.
Thank you very much for your time. Anthony Morrison is CEO of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, and he's been talking about a fund or a call for a disaster management fund they want government to set up. This is News Desk. Coming up shortly in business, government cautions local and foreign investors against exploiting current tax exemption regime. Do stay for details.